So there's a way that you can jump higher instantly, John. I don't know if you knew that.
No
Like,
way. I don't
give
believe
me
it.
like 10 minutes. In 10 minutes, you'll improve your vertical.
In 10 minutes, you're telling me you're going to tell me I only need 10 minutes to guarantee I'm going to jump my highest ever?
Yep. There was
What?
one time when I was
Tell
14
me.
years old. I was 14 years old, and I found this guide. I'm not gonna say the name because we don't say names out here. But I found this guide, and it said it'll improve my vertical instantly, and it had me test my vertical before. Then I did what it told me to do, and I jumped higher. And I've been doing the thing ever since then. Ever since I was 14.
Ever since you were 14, something you've been doing. Was it jumping? Were you jumping?
No, it's secret exercises.
Secret exercises.
3 words.
Dynamic warm up?
Yeah, you got it right.
I know, I agree. I do think a dynamic warm is incredibly important. It increases core temp, you increase the tendon compliance, you get the muscles ready to recruit high forces, increase motor recruitment, all the good stuff. But I do think there's some other things. I think that stuff's pretty well known, and my warm up has actually changed over time, right? So like big picture, yes, but let's get into the nitty gritty of like what specifically have you done and changed in your warm up to guarantee that you have your best day ever. And there's a few things that I have in my mind, but I want to hear what yours is.
Honestly, the biggest change is the jump warm up. And I'm talking about when I take baby jumps and then I
Like you
just
did
progress them
like
up
you did
up to
today.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I do that basically every session, and it has been one of the most important things I've done in order to stay healthy. Uh and it's made me question the actual need for a dynamic warm up. Like sometimes I question if I need to do a dynamic warm up or if it's just better to do a more thorough and slow
Jump
jump
warm
warm up.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think either can work. I mean, generally speaking, like general to specific in a warm up is good. So
Yeah.
doing something to get your core temp up and then, you know, addressing mobility that you're going to have addressed in the session,
Yeah.
specifically dynamic flexibility, and then doing some sort of elastic activity that gets progressively faster and more intense. So
Yeah.
if you skip the first couple pieces of that, you could technically use the elastic activity to get progressively warmer and warmer, but maybe there's a higher risk of injury during the session. So that's maybe the biggest downside, but there's a lot of things that lead to injury. I mean, it depends on what injury you're talking about, like specifically
Yeah.
muscles. Yes, tendons, we know that compliance plays a big role. So if your tendon's not warm, you're going to probably risk a higher chance of injury. If you've been over jumping too much, that's another thing that's going to risk it. I think for me personally, I've gotten away from doing really long, extended warm ups over time on dunk days. Partially it's because just honestly time. I just don't have the time to do that. I like them, and if I'm on a track, I absolutely would do that every single time. But in an actual dunk session, like you're limited in space, you kind of want to get used to the ball in your hand. I think is really important. I think that there's more creative ways that you can get warm. Like I like to use a warm up from Coleman Ayers that he gave me, like a ball handling warm up. That's always helped my ball handling, challenges me. Ryan Nagel also gave me another kind of ball handling warm up. That's the stuff that I've integrated. Another thing that really helps me is kind of tuning out from everything around me. So headphones are like one of the best things I can do. I think I tend to get a little bit too much in my head whenever I don't have headphones in, and especially when I'm dunking with you because you are so elite, and it's easy to just be like, it's easy to take my blinders off and like look left and right and be like, damn, like everyone's flying already. So when I kind of get in my own zone and I tune into what I need to do, I accept the fact that, yeah, maybe I'm going to take half an hour to warm up, and maybe it's going to mean that I have to take 50 more baby jumps compared to you guys. But
I
when I
actually
am
know
warm,
exactly what you're talking about. Because when I do events and I'm not healthy, everybody is so amped, full of adrenaline, and basically like the pro guys, they just walk in and start doing two-handers. And if my knee's bugging me, I have to do baby jumps, and I might not hit that like red line for another 45 minutes, and it can be demoralizing. If that's when I really have to just lock in and focus on my own thing and know like, hey, in half an hour, I'm gonna be hitting
right?
higher
Yeah,
jumps.
like after you tested or tried to test 51 or 52, like that was where I noticed on that dunk, what would you call it? Show, dunk show, that you really had to take your time, be patient, kind of ignore everything around you. And with
Yeah.
you guys, it's like, my focus isn't me a lot of the time. My focus is you guys, because I like dunking. Don't get me wrong. I love it, but I love jumping, but I love training too. And so for me, what I'm training, I really do dial in and I really focus on me a lot of the time. But in the dunk session specifically, like I'm usually filming you guys, or, maybe I'm working on something else, but it's like less important a lot of the time in the grand scheme of things, because you guys are my athletes, and I'm not your athlete. So I want to make sure that I put you guys first and that you guys excel. But when I am able to prioritize myself, it's definitely kind of like stepping back, viewing like things a little bit more holistically and doing what I think I need to do. And putting headphones in kind of allows me to shut out everything and just focus on how I feel, what I think I need to do, and kind of use my intuition. When I was younger, it was more like, okay, I'm going to do a full dynamic warm up. I'm going to do my dynamic flexibility. And I still do dynamic flexibility. I still do ISO sometimes when I need it. But specifically, as I've gotten older off one foot, my hamstrings have gotten a little bit tighter. I've pulled them from trying to learn how to speed jump, and I've had to be really careful with that. And then also, my hips have been, obviously ongoing with femoral acetabulum impingement, kind of genetic, something I can't change. And I just have to be aware that there's certain things I might have to do that are a little bit different. And that's going to come through time and experience. If you're a total beginner, maybe you're only 1 year in or 2 years in, dude, do the full dynamic warm up. You know what I mean? Do the full dynamic warm up, or do a 5-minute jog and then dynamic flexibility, and then build up your jumps. As you get more skin in the game, then you can kind of start to take that, a little bit of leniency.
Yeah.
That's the word I'm looking for, in figuring out specifically what you need to do. And early on, I was very black and white with that, to a point of a fault. I think whenever I was working with all these elite coaches, there was no fluidity, with the warm up. It's like, you're going to do this exact warm up, this exact way every single time. And sometimes that's good because it feels really rehearsed when you walk into a competition, right? That's the beauty of it. It's like a 2-minute drill when you're playing football. Those guys have done 2-minute drills in practice like 100 times. So there's no pressure when they're in a 2-minute drill, because they're like, yeah, we've done this, like we've practiced this like a million times. So it's a lot less pressure. Same thing with your competitions, right? If you've done that warm up a million times, you're like, okay, I know 50 minutes or an hour before I'm going to start getting ready. And by the time you're in the competition, you're ready to go because you've done it, the last 56 weeks of the year or whatever. Or
Yeah.
how many weeks are in a year?
52.
52. So you've done it the other 51 weeks of the year, that you don't have to, worry about stressing out about it. So that's kind of how I've changed with it. And, considering the session today, the big thing I changed is putting in headphones, and just because, dude, you guys don't know this, but we dunked today, and I dunked really well for the first time in a long time. A couple things I changed was I told them, Austin and Isaiah, I was like, today I'm going to focus on myself. Like, I want to put in headphones and I'm going to try hard, and I'm going to kind of push the limit. I might get hurt because, when you start to push the intensity up, that's a risk, but it worked really well for me. And when I realized I was starting to go downhill, I took the headphones out and kind of relaxed and focused on you guys. So
I think today I realized, we talk about becoming a different athlete. Today I realized, like, oh, his outputs are higher. When I was watching you jump off vert, mind you, even though it was a low rim, like you can just tell, like, because I've seen you on 9.8 before,
yeah.
and seeing you specifically jumping off vert and jumping off two, I was like, oh yeah, his outputs have gone up. And it was cool seeing kind of the similarities to how Austin progressed. Like, they where his 1 foot and 2 foot both went. It's like, you're here, and now they're both here. And I think the same has happened to you. And I think before, because when was the last time
Like I hit
you
a full
jumped?
cycle.
Like, it had been like, it was like you didn't jump for like 3 weeks, then you tried jumping on Friday, and then you jumped
My
today,
hips were
right?
kind of sore, and I just like
Yeah.
I was so fatigued. I didn't even try to
I
dunk.
think
I
you've
was just
literally
like,
just been training hard.
no, I have.
And
Yeah.
today you actually got a good warm up. I think Friday it probably could have been good, but
Dude, I was so
basketball
sore
kind
and
of,
achy. Yeah.
yeah,
Then
yeah,
we played, so I was like,
yeah.
I was like, don't really
But
care.
what's interesting is I've jumped well, because so I'm usually really strict. Like, I would say 90% of my sessions, I do ISOs, 3 sets of ISOs, jump dynamic flexibility, spurt and development, and then I build up from 10% to 100%. Sometimes if there's people playing, I'll get to the point, do the same thing, but I get to the point where I'm jumping 80%. Then I play a game of basketball, and then I can jump really high. Um, and then there's been times when I've like rushed that process, usually when it's high adrenaline, and I still jump high. There's also been times I've rushed that process and it's not worked out. I've gotten hurt and that type of thing. But I think it does help to kind of have that routine. At least
Yeah.
have some kind of consistency. I think you can shorten it. You don't have to make it super long. Especially if you're like getting fatigued and stuff, or if it's like killing your adrenaline. Um, but keeping consistency, I think, helps a lot, at least for me personally.
I think what I like to do is I like feeling a basketball in my hand early. Like
Yeah,
honestly, if I'm on a basketball court, that's something I've changed a lot over the years. Is like that warm ups become more fluid, specifically on dunk days. When I sprint, I have to do a full warm up or I will get hurt. Like I
yeah.
need to do a proper warm up or I will tweak my hamstring or I'll feel my Achilles or something else. Right? Like I have to because it's so intense. The forces are happening so fast. Like there's just so much going on for that to be a normal occurrence
What
in a training day.
the thing that's interesting about that though is the sprint development drills are, and even like running and jogging and that type of thing is more specific to sprinting. Like I almost feel like you have to kind of do that to warm up for sprinting
Oh
versus
no, yeah, for
jumping.
sure.
The only regressions is literally like short approach,
Off
and that's
vert
basically it.
and less
And
intensity.
then the intensity.
Yeah, decrease the intensity. I mean, you could do
The
like
most
geometric
specific for me is
variations.
like I do squats. Today I was doing this type of thing. I don't know if you noticed, but I was like kind of twerking.
Yeah,
Like,
I didn't notice that. I was in the zone, remember?
oh yeah, yeah. But I was like, it's literally just squatting up and down until that feels like fluid and
I've
pain
seen you do
free.
that before, yeah. I used to
Yeah,
do that a
yeah,
lot. As I've gotten older, I don't do it as much.
yeah.
I
And
used
then
to
I
do that
lunge and I
sometimes.
kind of like bounce in a lunge and that type of thing. And then from
Yep.
there,
I've seen you do it in squats. When you
yeah,
squat, you do it a lot. Like you'll
yeah,
like
yeah.
bounce with the bar or 135. I've done it too, where you're
Hmm.
just
And it's
it's
just
really
like,
simple. You're just trying to get the tendon compliance up,
yeah,
get the core
exactly,
temp up, get the
exactly. The
muscle temp up.
skips, it doesn't feel as specific. It feels more like I'm tiring myself out. um,
Yeah. But
but
again, that's what I was saying earlier. Like you have to do a proper warm up for a while before. To me, there's a lot of other things you get with a proper warm up, right? Like we've always talked about the low level plyos. You could listen to the old podcast of this, and we talk about that all the time. Specifically for dunk days, that is not something you necessarily are trying to check a box for because you're about to do a lot of low level plyos and high and medium intensity as you build up, like in jump intensities.
yeah,
So for me, it's kind of like, all right, let me, do what I feel like has worked in the past, which a lot of the time is doing, like I said, probably 10 to 15 minutes of ball handling drills and then doing dynamic flexibility. So it's kind of addressing the same, like you're checking the same boxes, 15
yeah,
minutes or 10 minutes of the ball handling. That's the same as just skipping around backwards, jogging backwards, but it's a little bit more basketball specific, which is good because we're dunking.
yep,
So if it were high jump, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't bring a fucking basketball to the track. I would actually do, the skips and stuff. But then, or long jump or whatever. And then if I do my dynamic flexibility, I always make sure that I address all of the relevant musculature. So, what I don't warm up? My tibialis anterior, because it never pulled it ever in my entire life because it's really not that important. But I always make sure I warm up my triple extensors. I always make sure I warm up, my hamstring, my quad, my calf. Those are really, really important. And my hips, like you have to address that stuff all the way,
yeah,
every single direction, every plane. And then after that, I'll typically start to do layups at really low intensities, right? Because a layup at a low intensity is you're basically jogging and you're doing a low level takeoff. And then I just build that up over time, over time, over time. And the headphones kind of let me pace it myself because when I watch you guys, sometimes you'll go from like touching the middle of the net to grabbing rim with two hands, to dunking with 2 feet or two hands, right? Like in 3 attempts, especially on a
yeah,
lower rim like today. For me, I'm like, look, I know I could do that, but I'll pay the consequences. And I need to
mhm,
accept that I'm going to take 30 more minutes while these guys might be at the peak of their session. Like I probably peaked my session. There was a Red Bull spill. I had to clean up the whole Red Bull spill, re-warm up. And then I peaked probably like 30 minutes later or
yeah.
something like that.
That Red Bull
Like
spill almost derailed
derailed the
the
session.
session.
Yeah. It was almost bad. It was like, and when Austin rolled the ball through the Red
Yeah.
Bull, dude, you were so pissed. And I had headphones in and I was like, I cannot allow this to derail the session. And Austin went and like half-ass cleaned it up. And I was like,
Yeah.
dog, no, like I will take the proper amount of time selflessly and clean this up because I know that you guys will literally get flat as shit if you stop and do this.
Yeah.
So I was proud of myself to be able to get rewarm because I was like, fuck, I might have just like sold the clip. You know what I mean? Like I was starting to feel good. But then I ended up getting back into it. You know, I just freaking turned up the volume on my headphones and then built up same thing. I just started doing layups back and forth, building up intensity. And there's certain like, and I don't know if you're like this, there's certain dunks that I will try or layups I'll try to like get the rhythm of a jump and the positioning and stuff like that with the ball in my hand, or, you know, just kind of getting lobs, like shooting around, host my lobs, getting touch on the ball. Do you have any like dunks or like similar type of thing that you do? Like for me, it's an up and under layup.
For me, it's so like today I was trying double East Bay, a 360 double East Bay. So I actually was very intentional with how I warmed up. Like I made sure I was doing a lot of spins early on to warm up. It's my ankles. So like if I were to just do straight up lob and warm up to 100% and then try a max effort spin dunk, my ankles die. So I have to like do
I
low
actually didn't
effort.
know that. This is the first
Yeah.
time I've ever heard that.
Yeah, I have to do like low effort spin dunks to kind of warm up because a spin dunk, my ankle's literally like at its max. Like I'm just freaking stretching the hell out of it.
It's like your calf is setting on the floor.
Yeah. So I do that. Again, I'm doing 360 double East Bay. So I was like, all right, let me do even though I'm not close to hitting it, I'm gonna do the motion of a reverse 360 East Bay. I'm gonna do the motion of a regular 360 East Bay. If I'm gonna do a dunk that has it behind the back, I warm up like basically a baby jump while doing
You
the
really truly
motion.
follow the rule, general specific in the session.
If I don't do that, I can have a session where I jump really high, but the dunk isn't gonna go down. When I've hit crazy ass dunks, I warm up. It's warming up my hands, like the technique, like the technical aspect of it.
Yeah, that makes
And that
sense.
usually helps a ton. But
Yeah.
I would say if you're a THP athlete, like do the full warm up like for a while, at least for a few months.
At
And then
least
you'll know,
bare minimum.
you'll know when you jump well, when you don't jump well. If you're an athlete that's hurt, do the jump warm up, but just extend it. Like
The other thing I would say is definitely, and there's guides on school for that, guys. If you are one of our athletes and you need advice on that, Isaiah made the whole pain guide for it, so check that out. Or like jump warm up, but also you need to make sure you're doing the full warm up on days that are not jumping, especially if you're sprinting. Like if you're sprinting, please, I beg you, do the full warm up. It is like negligent on your part to ignore that. The decrease in rate of injury or the incidence of injuries is dramatic when you do a full warm up when it comes to sprinting, and sprinting is high risk because of muscles specifically. So do the full warm up for that. If you have tendon pain, always make sure you do really stay on top of your ISOs. That's another thing
I share my screen real quick?
About today or what?
Yeah. No. You'll see.
Your story on Instagram?
If you're a THP athlete,
oh shit, okay.
I want you to click classroom, click injuries, and watch this video, how to have tendon pain guided sessions. This will literally like change your life. If you've ever had tendon pain, this will change your life. You can literally go from actually Dom, you remember Dom?
Yeah.
2022. 9 out of 10 pain going into the session. John took him basically through that warm up, ended up having one of his best sessions ever, and it was a full session. And same thing, I've taken Austin through that same thing. He was able to jump. So literally one of the most important things that you could possibly read and watch.
Yeah. Well, I feel like this is a good place to stop. You guys obviously saw Isaiah's crazy attempt today on 9.
If you haven't, go to my Instagram.
Yeah, it was insane. I guess I'll ruin it for you at this point. He was trying to hit a 360 double between the legs, which
actually I can screen share that.
It was insane. So crazy.
I am so sad that it didn't go down, bro.
But it's okay. It was there were some beautiful attempts, and I was extremely excited.
Have you seen the slow-mo of this?
I haven't. I was actually going to the Google Drive, but yeah, let me see. Oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah, bro.
Brother.
So that's going down. That's going down maybe end of this year if I get healthy. I pulled my quad, by the way, right after that jump.
Why? Why did you do that, Isaiah? Because you jumped for how long?
I tried that.
How many times did you try that?
It was like 40 something.
What's my cutoff? Like
according 20? to the clips.
I mean, rarely do we just derail the plan like this, but when Isaiah gets on a new dunk, it's impossible to pull him away from it. I've tried several times. At one point, I like told him I was gonna have to like put a gun up to his head to get him to stop because he was like, I will not any other
Yeah.
way. And you know, this was one of the rare times where I was like, hey bro, I really personally want you to hit this. Oh, my
Yeah.
dog hit my camera. And usually I don't care, but or usually I do care a lot. Today was the first time where I in a while where I was like, I'm gonna let you
I mean,
make
that one is a
judgment call.
historic one. It's
Yeah, it is.
9.8 and a quarter. I'm sorry, the guys out there that care about it. 9.8 and a quarter, but still, it would have been a PR for any height. The highest height I've hit it before is 8.10.
That I've seen,
Yeah, and I almost hit it on a foot higher than that
which is crazy,
today.
but
So
it was really good. So yeah, that's the video, guys. If you're interested in getting coaching from us, specifically what we do better than anyone else, we train your ass off, and we like to use really advanced, complex training strategies, complex training systems, really effective for long-term athletic performance. And we're always learning. We ourselves, we take a lot of pride in that. We like to test a lot of different things. I think that, to our credit, is one of our greatest strengths. We recently looked into adding a coach, and we've actually, I guess I confirm. Can I confirm this?
I think Wednesday we
Can I
should
confirm
let's
this?
announce it Wednesday. Let's announce
All
it
right,
Wednesday.
Wednesday. We'll announce it Wednesday.
Yeah.
But this person's really going to help us also as well. Make sure that we're, you know, on top of our shit when it comes to research and making sure that everything's dialed in. So that'll be really exciting. But if you guys are interested, go to THPStrength.com. The link is in the description. And if you're interested in doing that, just click on it, check it out. Maybe you buy it, maybe you don't, but definitely give it a click and check it out. So thanks for watching, guys, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.